It is Wednesday, my dudes. Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lotzia. She is Jessie Coffield, officially in her third trimester. Her feet are swollen and her joints are loose. She's miserable, but she's here because she loves you and us in this incredible company.
Yeah, there's no way I was missing this show with the golf gurus.
Yeah!
Len Hochberg is here. We have Canadians talking hockey and Nick doing that basketball thing, but we're going to get the party started with our NFL panel, DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Matt Meiselman.
All right, we are looking into the future here, gentlemen, so break out those crystal balls.
Ooh.
On the DraftKings Sportsbook, there are some way too early Super Bowl odds and MVP odds. Pierce, what's your approach here to betting NFL futures right now?
I would pump the brakes, but I wouldn't say that you just completely don't bet at all. But I'm not going to go at some of these favorites because just so many things can go wrong during a season that I just don't think that anyone really is a favorite. We haven't drafted yet. We haven't gone through free agency yet. We haven't gone through training camps. Players can emerge. Players can develop. If I'm going to do anything, I put down kind of a smaller bet on some of these long shots and hope that they draft well or they get some free agents and players develop. One of the teams that you might want to look at, and it sounds crazy, but the plus 10,000 Jaguars.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying mortgage the house on it, but if you look at when they were one game away from the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago, the year before that they were 3-13. The year before that they were 5-11. The year before that they were 3-13. So they weren't necessarily trending in the right direction. And even during that season, Blake Bortles was their quarterback. They didn't have a receiver catch more than 60 passes. They didn't have a receiver catch for more than 750 yards. Leonard Fournette barely eclipsed 1,000 yards. Yes, they had a good defense, but it wasn't a great defense. I mean, we can barely remember that defense at all. I mean, it was good. It was definitely above average. It was a solid defense that season, but it's nothing that people probably can't remember half the players that were on it. And you look at what this defense did last season, it wasn't great, but it's trending in the right direction. They did hold the Buffalo Bills to 6 points. Anything can happen. They're not in a very tough division. They can make the playoffs, maybe catch some breaks like they did that season. It's worth a small little bet.
Pierce, did we just become best friends?
No.
Quick answer.
Hey, Maddie, no, that was a terrible answer. That was actually the worst answer you've ever given on this show.
But it was quick.
Maddie, are you playing a wait-and-see game here with most of these futures on the DK Sportsbook?
For the most part, I like what Pierce was talking about, going with longer odds for this part of the offseason because, you could definitely get burned if you, let's say, pick the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams don't end up being there. So I think there's more to lose with a lot of these favorites. But there's one team in kind of the mid-tier that I do like for both Super Bowl futures and for the MVP. That's the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson's 28-1. The Ravens are about 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. I just think there are a lot of ways this team could improve going into next year, and most of it has to do with their own health. Like, they don't necessarily need to add anyone to become a really good team. To me, this is the team that underachieved the most last season. So even though the odds are a little shorter and I'm a little wary of it, like Pierce talked about, I still think the Ravens deserve to be in the same category as teams like the Cowboys and the 49ers, and they're just a little bit undervalued. Lamar Jackson at 28-1. Maybe he should be 15 or 20-1. I don't think he's going to win MVP this year, but I do think he'll be in the conversation. So, that whole organization just seems undervalued to me.
All right, speaking of the division winner odds, is there a team in the AFC whose odds to win their division jump out to you right now, Matt? In the AFC East, Pats are plus 330.
Oh, stop it.
Can I use that one? I do actually like that
No.
one.
Yeah, I know.
You're terrible.
I know. I am. But New England was the favorite in the AFC East for a decent chunk of last year and kind of just fell apart at the end. I mean, Mac Jones should be better this year. I don't know if we can say that about Josh Allen. Josh Allen was unbelievably good this past season, but he wasn't a rookie. We're not necessarily going to expect him to improve. I think he'll be very, very good. But New England had a really good team around Mac Jones. Maybe they had some wide receivers. That was probably a weak spot for them. The defense gets a little better. I think there's a lot of ways this team could wind up being better. Obviously, the biggest problem for the Patriots in the division is just how good the Bills are. So this is not an anti-Bills take by any stretch, but it does seem to me like the odds should be a little bit closer.
All right, Pierce, what do you think?
Steelers plus 650. I mean, let's give them some credit. They did make the playoffs last season. Say what you want. End of the day, they were in the playoffs And I think that they're going to be even, that much better this season. I know Matt's not a big Najee Harris fan, but the guy had the fourth most rushing yards last season with 1,200, and that was with absolutely no offensive line at all. He was still able to get that many yards, and really no quarterback that would only throw to his first read, wouldn't move the ball downfield, didn't get any help. So I imagine anyone they put at quarterback is going to help Harris. Anyone they put at quarterback is going to be an upgrade for this pretty solid receiving core. The offensive line cannot get any worse. And so I just don't see how they don't make the playoffs and possibly win the division. You look on the defensive side, they've already got the pass rush. One of the problems they struggled, though, was defending the pass and against the run. But they had Stephon Tuitt was out for the season. Bush was not 100% healthy. Tyson Alulu will be back. And then they added Brian Flores as a coach. Now, whatever, the outside football stuff, all that noise, we can ignore it. We know that he's a good defensive coach, was great in New England, was a fine coach in Miami. He's going to improve that defense. I think we might be overreacting to one poor season by the Steelers. I think they're going to go right back to the top of the AFC North.
All right, Pierce, talk to me about an NFC team you like in the division.
Yeah.
I need this.
About the Washington Commanders.
Whoa.
This is not a division that is really that good. I know the Cowboys get a lot of credit, but the Cowboys aren't the best team. I mean, their defense improved last season in terms of turnovers, but overall it wasn't the greatest defense. Their rush attack is questionable. Their offensive line is going to be one season older. And if you look at where Deshaun Watson is favored to land, it's the Washington Commanders. And if they add Deshaun Watson, then I think they absolutely, if he's allowed to play, become one of the favorites. Now, if they can't get him, I think Heineke's going to develop. And if they don't get Heineke to develop, maybe they go with Mitchell Trubisky. They've got the running backs. They have a decent receiving core. They need to improve the offensive line. But the defense is there. You look down the stretch, that defense really started to gel under Ron Rivera. 7 of the last 10 games, they held their opponents to under 21 points. Almost was 8 out of 10 if you don't count a defensive touchdown by the Dallas Cowboys. They ran into some poor great games down the road because they were dealing with tons of injuries and COVID situations. But they've got a good defense. Most of the foundation is there. They just need to improve the quarterback play. I don't think this one is a far shot at all.
Okay, Maddie, how about you? What do you think? Eagles have better odds in that division than the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm probably looking to the NFC North, though, just because of the Aaron Rodgers thing, just to keep teasing this a little bit. Also, to Pierce's point about Najee Harris, it's not that I don't like him. It's that I dislike every single running back in the NFL. They're all overvalued. Every single one of them is bad. So that's where that take is. But I still think that looking at the Minnesota Vikings, who do have Dalvin Cook, that could be interesting just given the uncertainty with Aaron Rodgers. And this might seem like an obvious take, but just looking at the odds here, I don't think the division odds are reflecting the uncertainty with Rodgers in the same way that other markets are. I think minus 165 for the Packers and plus 275 for the Vikings are numbers that are actually not that far off from where they'll be if Rodgers we know is with the Packers. If we get that confirmation, it seems like it's kind of priced in already. So if you have the chance that he's not there, the Vikings probably become the division favorites at that point. And we have a precedent for this because this happened last season where we had a week or so where we thought Rodgers wasn't going to be with the Packers, and the division odds closed to where they were almost even between these two teams. I don't think much has really changed, and we're just getting a repeat of last year. So I think going after the Vikings and maybe even the other two teams, the Bears and the Lions, that makes some sense right now.
All right, you guys have both already mentioned him, but we are anticipating a lot of quarterback movement, especially with Aaron Rodgers and that cryptic Monday Night Gratitude Instagram post.
That was disgusting.
Yeah.
Some of the things he did to his body.
Yeah, we learned some details.
Lots of liquids.
About the retreat he went on. Where is he playing next year, Pierce?
This might come to surprise to some, but I don't have Instagram, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Wow.
There was something
dude,
during a retreat
you're
he
on
went
Twitter.
on. There was some allegedly therapeutic vomiting.
Yeah, and there were enemas involved. He did all sorts of weird
He
stuff.
did a 2-week detox, and it was probably.
Yeah, you're a book guy. You've probably read a book about this.
They went on a vision quest.
Yeah.
You would probably do something
to him.
similar.
I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. He opened his mind up and he can see,
He's filled with gratitude now.
Receivers open before they're open. I don't know. I think he's staying put.
Yeah.
Where is he going to go? I don't. Who can afford the trade that's going to be required? I wouldn't want to spend what you're going to have to spend to get Aaron Rodgers. Just stay in place. Keep everything the same. Stop changing things around. I don't think he's moving. I really don't. I know that Denver is top of the list. And they have some receivers that they get, like whatever they move to get him, then he's going to go to a bad situation that he's not going to want to be a part of. I'm actually more interested in the Russell Wilson thing. I know you guys don't care about the Russell Wilson.
No, that's producer Drew, not us. Producer Drew does not care about it. What do you think about Russell Wilson? You could toss it in there.
Well, it's the same thing. I don't think that I think Russell Wilson's a better story because he's washed up, and I just like mentioning that he doesn't really have it anymore. And people like to think that, oh, well, these guys can just go to a different team, like Tom Brady jumping down to Tampa. Well, Tom Brady was a pocket passer. And so if you just blocked for him and gave him receivers, which he didn't have in New England, of course he's going to improve. But Russell Wilson can't just jump on another team. His skill set is depreciating. He cannot run around. He cannot make things happen. And so since he's not worth anything, no one's going to trade for him. No one's going to forfeit any packs. If he were a free agent, I think I would jump all over Russell Wilson. But people think that maybe Washington is going to trade for Russell Wilson. I think that's crazy. Why would you give up draft picks for this guy? I think they all just end up staying in place. And we are going to talk for a month about where these guys are going to go, and nothing's going to happen.
Matt, there's another team that lost a veteran quarterback, the Bucks. He's plus 1,400 to go to the Bucks. What do we think?
I think they're one of many possible choices that are realistic. Like, I think he could kind of go anywhere. I feel like I need my own vision quest to just channel the energy to understand, like, what is Aaron Rodgers thinking, and then just summon that. Otherwise, I don't know how else to predict what he's going to do. He just seems like a total wild card right now. So ultimately, yes, I think the Packers are the most likely destination, but at minus 250, I don't think it's worth betting that. I don't think it's likely enough to make that bet. This is probably one to just watch for entertainment. I really don't have a strong opinion on this, but I do think like the fact that a bunch of these teams are between 10 and 20 to 1, like the Buccaneers, is indicative of it being at least realistic that he could choose a third of the teams in the NFL. Like, it's all on the table. He probably does stay in Green Bay, but I don't think anyone would be surprised if he made a random choice, especially after what he's been doing the last 2 weeks.
Hey, do you hate Russell Wilson as much as Pierce does?
No, I don't have a long answer for that. I think he's definitely getting worse. Like, there are clear signs of decline, which are not there for Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I'd rather have Rodgers now, despite all this off the field stuff. Wilson, I'm concerned about his health and just his play over the last couple seasons. I would much rather have Aaron Rodgers right now.
Do you see a change of scenery, though, helping Wilson?
Yes, but not enough where he's going to suddenly become, the level that he was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, like if a team that doesn't have a quarterback right now is able to acquire him, it certainly would help. But yeah, I think the under talked about issues with Wilson are his health and the injuries and all the things he's dealt with. And it is true, if you're a quarterback who's relying on athleticism, switching teams is harder, but also recovering from injuries and aging is harder because you can't just go back to your arm and your accuracy and all of those things. Like those tend to age better. Just look at Tom Brady. Okay. All of the athletic ability, that's a little bit harder to keep up over time. So yeah, I think Wilson will bounce back a little bit, but I think the days of him being an elite quarterback are probably gone.
All right, guys, we got to take off here. Producer Drew is mad at us. We've got 2 golf segments still ahead, Sticky Puck, but first we keep with the fortune telling, right? We're going to stick with that. NBA futures coming out of the All-Star break. That is next.
Ooh. All right, everybody, say hello to our NBA panel, DraftKings contributors Gary and Thorne and Nick Fryer with RotoWire's Nick Whalen. Fellas, NBA seeing the future time. So NBA futures coming out of the All-Star break. Let's talk about Joel Embiid.
I would love
All right.
to.
He's at plus 130 right now for MVP, but Jokic is hanging close, plus 290. And you can't discount a second half run from Giannis at plus 400 or Curry at plus 850. So who are you looking at for an MVP bet right now, Garion?
Yeah, I think to me, every advanced stat in the world says this should be Nikola Jokic. And we know this is a narrative-based award. I think, we saw with a couple of the straw polls that ESPN did in the last couple of weeks, there's serious voter fatigue for Giannis, which is unfortunate because he has just as much of a claim to this award as virtually anyone else in the NBA. But, I think it's justified that Embiid and Jokic are a little bit better in terms of their odds than Antetokounmpo at this point. But I would lean Jokic just because I think he has the statistical case. Embiid could also see some of his stats plummet a little bit in the second half, or last quarter, I guess, more appropriately, with James Harden playing alongside him. So, yeah, I'll lean Jokic here. I will say quickly, while I think it's definitely going to be one of those three guys, Devin Booker at 18-1. With no Chris Paul, probably till the playoffs, if the Suns win like 68 games, again, even in that scenario, I don't think Booker probably takes this. I think the other guys just have too much of a head start. But yeah, if the Suns are like 68-14 and Devin Booker is averaging 30 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds across the last 25 games of the season, he might deserve a look too.
Nick F., how do you feel about these odds?
So I do like Steph Curry a little bit at plus 850. As much as Gary's talking about the Suns, if they go in the wrong direction and the Warriors continue to stay atop the league and then maybe get that top spot, looking at where the Warriors were last season, I think that would help Curry's case out a lot. But I do agree with him that Jokic is the best bet for this one right now, because you look at what Denver's got going on right now with no Murray all season, and they're still in the playoff hunt. The West, of course, much more respected than the East in terms of top to bottom talent. And then when you look at Embiid too, his numbers could get hurt in the second half. If they don't perform with Harden there, that's going to hurt too. The only thing that could help Embiid from a narrative standpoint is if Harden kind of doesn't play like he did in Brooklyn, and then Embiid and the Sixers still kind of continue to do what they've been doing the whole season. That's the only thing. But other than that, I still like Jokic more so.
All right, who do you like more, Nick W.?
Yeah, there's not a ton of value with these top three guys, and there's so much variance. I think, Nick and Gary have done a good job kind of laying out the cases for what could go right or wrong for any of them, that you wouldn't feel great, getting Nikola Jokic at basically 3-1. He would be my pick for the award. And the reason for that is I think there are the lowest expectations for Denver as a team. And, I think they've already exceeded those expectations. They're 8 games above 500 with Jamal Murray playing 0 minutes, Michael Porter Jr. playing something like 9 games and being terrible in those 9 games. So it feels like the Nuggets season is a success already, and obviously Jokic has the numbers, whereas I think we hold Milwaukee and Giannis to a higher standard. This is the defending champion. This is a team that, over the last few years was easily on pace in an 82-game season for like 60, 65 wins, and it kind of feels like they've just kind of slacked their way through the season. They can't put together winning streaks, and even though Giannis's numbers are really good, it doesn't feel like the Bucks have been successful enough or better enough that, like, compared to the Nuggets, I guess is a sloppy way of saying that, for Giannis to win this award. So I think Jokic of that top three is probably the best bet. Embiid, he's the favorite for a reason. Obviously, the Harden thing is a massive, massive variable to throw in mid-season. I think, Nick mentioned, if Harden were to sit out or get injured, maybe that would help Embiid. Certainly it would. I don't think we can bank on that. But I do think even if we see Embiid's numbers decline by, say, 10% with James Harden in the lineup, I think adding Harden makes Philly a better team. So maybe Embiid's numbers aren't as crazy over these final 25 games, but if the Sixers go 20-5 or 19-6 over the final 25 games, I think that kind of offsets any possible statistical decline from Embiid.
Hey, Fryer, what's another future award that you're looking at here? So Mobley looks to have the Rookie of the Year on lock, right? Minus 750. Tyler Hero's a runaway at minus 1,400 for 6-man. John Morant looking like a lock at most improved at minus 550. So do you maybe take a long shot in one of these departments, or do you go over to Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, because there's still some time here to decide those?
So I think for most improved, as much as I love John Morant and what the Grizzlies have done this year, Desmond Bane is also right there too. They've been a great team top to bottom. And the thing is too, with Ja Morant out this season, the Grizzlies have done pretty well. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a lock. Miles Bridges, I do think, is deserving of being, right where he is in the odds. But I like Darius Garland a lot this one too. And Anthony Simons is another guy who I think is deserving of this award, but he's not going to sniff this at all. Unless the Blazers go on a run, but we talk about the Sixers and why you can't bank on Embiid and all that. So I think if you want a little bit more of a long shot, I think Garland is a good play here. But my favorite one, I think, when we're looking at these futures awards, aside from Jokic for MVP, I think that JB Bickerstaff for Coach of the Year has a legitimate case. I know Monty Williams is ahead of him in the odds right now, but no one expects the Cavs to go off like they have this season, and they're still, right there in the hunt for the playoffs and everything in a comfortable spot, and could win their division this year. And they've dealt with adversity throughout the course of this season. I know they added Karis LeVert and pivoted well, but still losing Sexton, Rubio was having a good year too. So I think Bickerstaff, especially given where they were last year, is a good guy to go with for Coach of the Year.
Waylon, what's another future award you like?
So I kind of like Kevin Love at 25-1 for Sixth Man of the Year, and the odds, which Tyler Hero is minus 1,400. That implies that he essentially has this locked up, and he probably does. But narrative-wise, I think Kevin Love has one of the strongest Sixth Man of the Year narratives you'll ever see. I mean, I think coming into the year, we all thought there was a chance that he might just be sent home. Like, he had shown no indication that he wanted to come off the bench and play 20 minutes a game. And instead, he's been perfect in that role. He's averaging 22 minutes, been super efficient, finally staying healthy for the first time in 5 years. And obviously, he's been a key cog in Cleveland, being one of the biggest surprises of the year. So if we see Tyler Hero falter down the stretch, or maybe there's an injury and he misses a bunch of time, I do think there's a chance that Kevin Love could sneak into that debate. But I'm going to go to Coach of the Year as well and agree with Nick here. I don't understand why Monty Williams is minus 330, and his odds actually got better after they lost Chris Paul, which I guess that part I understand. But this team basically runs itself. Chris Paul is kind of halfway the coach of this team, and I do think there was a case for Monty Williams to win Coach of the Year last year. He did not win it, and now it feels like we're kind of handing this to him as a makeup award. And I don't think the Suns without Chris Paul are going to win like 68 games. And normally when you have a really high win total like that, the coach automatically gets the award. But Taylor Jenkins, man, at 6-1 for the 41-19 Memphis Grizzlies, who have already smashed their over-under on the year. 9 out of 10 years, Taylor Jenkins is like minus 10,000 favorite to win this award right now. And he's third behind Monty Williams and JB Bickerstaff. It's crazy.
Dude, JB Bickerstaff seems like a pretty good, solid pick right there, Gare Bear. Plus money on him. It's incredible how fast things have turned around in Cleveland. I'm cleaning my hands because she just sneezed.
I sneezed. I don't know what.
It's disgusting. The desk is smothered with moisture.
You gotta be safe. Gotta be careful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Cleveland has a legitimate case to win a lot of these awards in some capacity. It probably will just end up being that Evan Mobley wins Rookie of the Year, and that's kind of like the Cavaliers award for the year. So maybe voters don't feel like they have to give, Kevin Love Sixth Man, although I do really like Love's case. I actually bet him when he was 60-1. I mean, 25-1, a little less appealing, just considering, how strong some people feel about Tyler Hero. Like, apparently there's like unnamed scouts who feel like he was robbed of his all-star spot this year. So who knows, man? People feel ways about Tyler Hero that I will never understand. The Ja Morant stuff for most improved player, I just don't like betting on most improved player, mostly because I don't understand it. How someone who was the second overall pick in the draft, making a jump in his second season to his third season, is considered most improved. I don't get it. Ja Morant was really good. We knew that. So the fact that he became an all-star shouldn't really shock anybody. I just don't like betting on that award because the rationale for it can change so many different ways. So I'm going to look at Defensive Player of the Year. I think this could kind of be like Giannis's consolation prize. And it's interesting that he has the third lowest odds to win this award at plus 425. Rudy Gobert obviously is like the Lou Williams of this category in terms of like Lou just won Sixth Man every year because he could. Gobert has to be mentioned, but Gobert and Draymond Green have both missed huge sections of this season. And while the Bucks defense is clearly not as good this year as it's been in years past, they are 5 points per 100 possessions better when Giannis is on the floor. Like, I don't think it's Giannis's fault by any means. He's still playing at an incredible level in terms of his individual defense. And I also think, like, you got to look at this in unique ways as well. Like, Giannis leads the league in free throw attempts. Like, that helps your defense. That helps Milwaukee not have to get into these transition scenarios and set up a defense. Like, Giannis is so important to that team's defense that I think maybe just with how many games the other guys have missed, with maybe some voter fatigue for Gobert, that this could be the award. They're like, yeah, Giannis can't win MVP again, but we'll give him Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, let's head on over to team futures, fellas. So what's
Please.
a team future you like right now? Now, this could be a team to sneak into the playoffs, like maybe the Hornets
That
at
would
plus
be
400.
something else, yeah.
Or perhaps a surprise division or conference winner. Cavs are plus 320 to win the Central. Celtics plus 1,100 to win the East. Like, what's a team future that you like here, Nick W.?
Yeah, the two that you mentioned are interesting. I'll actually go to the Northwest division, obviously in the Western Conference, and the Denver Nuggets are plus 650, essentially to pass the Utah Jazz for number one in that division. And right now, coming out of the break, they're 3 games behind Utah. Not a ton of games left, so 3 games is a reasonable gap to close. But Utah finished 8-12 in its final 20 games before the All-Star break. Yes, Donovan Mitchell missed time. Yes, Rudy Gobert missed time, but this team just really has not looked the same. Since about midway through the first of the season, doesn't really seem like they're playing with a lot of confidence. I think there's a chance that Denver, depending on when Jamal Murray gets back into the mix here, could pass Utah, and at plus 650, pretty reasonable value.
All right, Garion, team future you like right now?
Yeah, I don't mind betting Denver. That was one of the ones I had written down. I also think you can start looking at like the team win totals. One that stood out was the aforementioned Memphis Grizzlies, led by Taylor Jenkins. Right now, that total is 54.5. They are 41-19 at the All-Star break. They've got 22 games left. It's actually the fewest of any team in the NBA. So this could get a little dicey, but they've been winning games at a 68% clip. To go over this number, they would just have to win 14 of their last 22 games. That is a 63% clip. And they have the 3rd easiest remaining schedule in the NBA by win percentage. They've got 10 games left against these 6 teams combined: Orlando, Houston, Oklahoma City, Indiana, San Antonio, and the New Orleans Pelicans, who don't seem like they're getting Zion back, sadly. So I just think, not that those are like 10 automatic wins or anything, but they've got a pretty clear path to getting those 14 wins. And I mean, it's a big gap to make up to get to Phoenix, obviously, but with Chris Paul hurt, I think this Memphis team, which is just, as LeBron can tell you, full of irrational confidence, they might think they can get the number 1 seed in the West. They probably think this is wide open. So these games matter to them, and I think they're going to try as hard as they can for the remainder of the season. So at even money, plus 100, I like the over 54.5 for Memphis.
All right, Nick F., team future.
Yeah, I'm with Gary on the Grizzlies for sure on this one, but I think one that initially, we talk about the Celtics, right, winning the East at plus 1,100. I do think that them to win their division is reasonable because they're right there with the Sixers, and things could go the wrong way for the Sixers with James Harden. I know you add James Harden on paper, yes, looks better. The team obviously gets better. But I like the Nets actually at plus 1,300 to win the Atlantic. They got 23 games left on their schedule, and they're only 4.5 games back in the division. And look, I understand you had like what I just said about James Harden, but if Kevin Durant comes back, that's going to make a huge difference. They can absolutely make those 4.5 games up in this short period of time. And enough that, I'm willing to take advantage on these long odds.
Guys, that was excellent. Thanks so much. We are out of time for the basketball dudes because the gorgeous golf gurus will join us right after this. All right, the Honda Classic, it tees off tomorrow at PGA National, and we have our PGA Tour panel here to help us out. DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich and Reed T. Fowler. Hey, guys. Man, Reed, you're looking sharp in that hoodie, dude.
Well, hey, man, it's the vacation, it's the sun. Where is it, Emerson? It's gone here in New England. Where'd it go?
At least it's warm.
Actually, it's
outside.
nice today.
It's warm.
Reed.
It's good for your ankles that are swollen right
Yeah,
now.
my ankles
Mine are too, Jesse.
My feet.
Same here, dude.
I really waddled in here today. I'll just say that.
Jesse, the Penguin Coffield. PGA Tour high or low? Are the odds and prices too high or too low here for the Honda Classic? We're not going to ask Jeff this question. We had to hear him talk about Joaquin Niemann for the past 2 days. But Reed, coming off a win, 10-6 this week. Is this price a little too inflated because of that victory? It was just a second one on tour.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what Jeff has to say about Joaquin Niemann in a little bit. I think it is, and not because of the talent, but because of the situation, right? I mean, he lives close by. It's a home field, play. He's young, doesn't need to worry about, swollen ankles in the cross-country flight that he's taken first class in his own jet. But this is a course that you don't necessarily look physically, emotionally, mentally. Joaquin Niemann played the Genesis Invitational at the highest level, right? And now you come to what played as the 6th toughest course last year. I think it's a little inflated. Judging on the field, it's not going to take you away from that. Maybe as a GPP target, but I'd be fading him just because there's guys, especially someone like Brooks Koepka, who's cheaper than him, and by all accounts is the second most talented person in this field.
All right, Jeff, whose price is too low? So you got Ricky Fowler and Michael Thompson, 2 past winners here.
Great.
They're under $8,000, as well as a couple of major winners like Stenson, Johnson, Schwartzel, all below that as well. So whose price sticks out to you as being a little too low?
Is that Zach Johnson, the Ryder Cup captain?
Oh,
Ryder Cup captain? Why? He's won 2 majors, and you put him as the Ryder Cup. He hasn't
Yeah.
even captained the Ryder Cup.
Wasn't he just named Ryder Cup
Coffield
captain
handle
today?
the golf for today, okay? I don't know
Yeah,
what's up
let
with
me and CT Pan handle this.
Look, I don't know who's too low this week, but it's not Ricky Fowler. I mean, his best result on the West Coast was a T55 in the last week. I think he made 9 birdies versus like 9 bogeys last week. He's basically the epitome of just death for DFS, even though he did make the cut. Michael Thompson, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think he's doing much either. I would suggest that the people who are really sort of undervalued here aren't really the names. They're not really like household names that you'd say would be elite players. But guys like Chris Kirk and Lucas Glover here at 75 and 7,400 respectively. And this is exactly the type of player you want to target coming into a Honda. They're playing pretty well. Lucas Glover's right up there, top 20 in strokes gain approach stats over long-term form. Chris Kirk, T14 his last time out. Both guys good around the green, especially Chris Kirk, really slick around the green player. And both these guys have great course histories at PGA National. I think that counts for a lot this week. You can say, oh, okay, guys like Poulter, maybe Fowler coming in, they got good course experience. And yeah, they probably are better long-term players, but it takes a lot to turn things on at PGA National. And for DFS purposes, I would rather target guys like Kirk and Glover down there, who I think are a little bit underpriced when you see guys like Denny McCarthy, Ryan Palmer, and even like a Lee Westwood up above them in salary this week. I think both those guys trending well, looking like too low in the price.
Reed, do you agree Ricky Fowler not priced too low?
Ooh.
yeah, I do. And it looks like I'm the best Fowler right now.
Ooh.
Talking about golf. Hey, Ricky. Apologies. But I think Jeff just mentioned a guy, too, who should be a little bit higher just because of how well he plays in Bermuda. It's Ryan Palmer. He's at $7,900. I don't think he should be in the 9K range at all because he's missed the last 2 cuts, but he should definitely be in the 8K range with how well he plays in the Florida swing. He's played here quite a bit, and he's just, when it comes to ball striking and Bermuda putting, that's where he turns it on. We see Palmer always pop on these type of courses, right? Even though he's got the most water balls, I believe, right, at this course, he leads everyone on the PGA Tour and who's ever played here in balls in the water. He's still someone that at $7,900 that I'd be targeting just because of how well he plays and how comfortable he feels on this course.
He's plus 6,500 this week there over on the DK Sportsbook, which we can head there because we've talked about Sung JM, plus 1,000, maybe a little too short for a bet. And Louis Oosthuizen might not have enough value for anyone except Jeff. Plus 1,600. Who up at the top is just not giving you enough value to put a bet on, Reed?
I like Louis this week, man.
I know you do. It's sad.
I like Louis, and I hate to say it, but I think he's a good play. It's actually Billy Horschel at plus 1,800. Like, I get it. And look, Tommy Fleetwood being number 2 in the odds at plus 1,400 is wild, even though he's got a decent history here. But Billy Horschel is one that I just can't put my finger on right now. I get why he's up there, and he plays much better in Bermuda, but he should be like in the high 2s, in my opinion. And being below Brooks, both of these guys, Tommy and Billy being below Brooks, even Brooks, I mean, Billy and Brooks are the same, but I guess just in like where they stand on this list, it just feels weird. It feels extremely weird to not see Brooks Koepka as the 3rd and like Daniel Berger as the 2nd in terms of odds. So I'm going to say Billy Horschel, not enough for me. I'd rather bet Brooks at plus 1,800 because he's flashed, right? He just hasn't put it all together in all 4 rounds.
All right, Ulrich, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, all these guys looking overpriced. I mean, people, you can make fun of me all you want for Usti, but I mean, he's played better than most of these guys over the last little bit. I mean, you got even Daniel Berger, who I think is like the class of the field, and I think is fine at plus 1,600 as well with Louis. He's been banged up to start the year. Like, he missed the cut at Phoenix, whereas Usti was gaining strokes throughout the bag. So I think Fleetwood and Horschel, like Reed said, I mean, those are the guys who really stand out as just, I mean, do you really want to bet Billy Horschel at plus 1,800? Billy Horschel is fine when he's sitting around plus 5,000 because he can get hot with that putter. He can eke out wins in elite fields. We saw him win the match play last year against a very stacked field. So Horschel can get it done, but do you really want to target this player who kind of isn't really even a win-a-year player anymore at plus 1,800? No, I think that's poor. His odds are a little bit too short here, and I like Reed said, we kind of understand why people are getting on him, but you just want better odds with Billy Horschel. Fleetwood, the exact same thing. Dude still hasn't found a win on the PGA. Now we're being asked to bet him at plus 1,400. No, thank you. Brooks Koepka, Louis, Berger. If you're going to go under 2K or under plus 2,000, on the DraftKings Sportsbook, those are the 3 guys you need to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just going to ask whose odds are too long that you like this
CT
week.
Pan,
So,
your guy.
well, Brooks, he's over 2,000, could be a target. Reed, do you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, look, I mean, like I mentioned, Brooks is kind of all, he's flashed. We saw him at WM. And if it wasn't for like just poor iron play, right, he could have won that. And we've seen bits and pieces of his game be there on like one round or one tournament. You just got to put it all together. And he's finished runner-up here. This is a difficult par 70. It's not a strong field, which is usually not Brooks's cup of tea, but maybe, because he's embarrassed of where his world golf ranking is, maybe he could beat this field because it's basically just Daniel Berger and Louis he has to beat, if Jeff and I are correct in saying those 3 guys are the cream of the crop. But there's some guys deeper in odds, too, that you can definitely attack. And one guy in particular is another South African. It's Christian Bezuidenhout. I just think at plus 5,000, even though he missed the cut last week, he's someone that has had multiple wins worldwide. He's had top finishes in his last 5 or 6 starts. It's inside the top 20. And he just feels like that kind of guy that at this type of course can play well. He's number 1 in strokes gained putting on Bermuda grass over the last 24 rounds, and he hits his irons well. And he's accurate off the tee. So give me Seabez as a little bit too high and someone that I find value in.
All right, Jeff, whose odds are too long that you like this week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about the top players a lot. So, I mean, if we're going down the list, I mean, I don't hate Alex Noren, to be honest, above plus 3,000, plus 3,500 this week. He was right in the mix at the Phoenix Open. And again, we value course experience here. Obviously, it's the player who came in the top 5 at the Honda Classic a few years ago, but I think he can go deeper. I think he can go deeper with a guy like Russell Knox, especially. Knox has really been hitting the ball well. He's gained over 3 strokes on approach in his last 3 starts. He's got 2 top 5 finishes at the Honda Classic. I think people are kind of overlooking Knox because, A, he can be very streaky with the putter, and by streaky, I just mean bad. But if he puts his around the green game together, we saw already he posted a top 10 at the Sony Open. I think top 10 odds on Russell Knox at plus 550, and then plus 650, plus 6,500. I'm going to get through this segment, I swear.
Oh.
To
Okay.
win outright is fine for Russell Knox. I think if anything, he's definitely undervalued. I think he should be closer to plus 5,000 in the outright odds this week.
Well, apologies to Brandon Hagee. We have run out of time.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, gentlemen. I'm so sorry. Reed, have a great rest of your day. Jeff, stick around. You're Canadian, and we need Canadians to talk hockey for us right after this.
I can talk about that.
NHL panel is here. DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich and RotoWire's Paul Bruno breaking down tonight's 5-game NHL slate, aka NHL opening face-off. So let's find out. Jeff, who are you going to be paying up for in DFS tonight?
Yeah, it's Nathan MacKinnon. We have the Oilers top centers on the slate as well, but it's just such a difference in matchup between the Detroit Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, Detroit is bottom 10 in terms of like scoring chances allowed, penalty kill. And I mean, McDavid is $700 more expensive than McKinnon. He really hasn't been playing better than McKinnon to warrant that at all. Nate the Great coming off, 2 goals in his last 2 games as well. The shot volume is always better with McKinnon for the most part over McDavid. So this one is pretty straightforward. You pay up for Nathan MacKinnon tonight because the Avalanche, just as an offense and as a team too, I think they're going to be in a bit of a foul mood after getting slammed on President's Day by the Boston Bruins 5-1, and now they get a Detroit team who they put up 7 goals against a couple months ago. I think you're probably going to see another big goal total. I would start with MacKinnon today.
All right, Paul, who you laying down the cash for?
I'm kind of with Jeff here, but I'm going to fade MacKinnon and take both his wingers. I'd like to try and get as much of the Colorado top line as I can in there. And the fact is, you'll save money by going to Rantanen costing $7,200 and Landeskog at $6,200. They're both playing at a better than point per game pace all year. And I agree with what Jeff said. They'll be smarting from getting that spanking in Boston, and they'll take it out on a Detroit team that's woefully underprepared and got a long injury list too. Kyle Connor's another guy that I'm looking at in a game at Dallas. This is a rematch of a game that happened a week ago. It was a high-scoring, high-event game, and I look for a similar thing, and that's just Kyle Connor's cup of tea. He's got 11 points and 41 shots on goal in his last 10 games. I say both numbers go up tonight. And then finally, if you don't like the stack in Colorado, how about Tampa and Edmonton? The Oilers are going to be fielding the 2 guys that cost more, but I think I'd rather go with Point and Stamkos in a stack too, considering they're $6,800 and $6,200 respectively. The star power is equal, maybe even in Tampa's favor when you consider the depth that they have there. So, and I also worry about the Edmonton goaltending. So I think I lean in Tampa's stars tonight there.
How many linesmen will Nathan MacKinnon slash tonight? Looking forward to that. Best value play in DFS, Paul?
Well, I mentioned the Tampa forward line. The third guy is the cheap guy there, $4,400 for Andre Palat riding shotgun with the other 2 big guns. I think he's overdue to join their points party. And I've also spoken in recent weeks how I like Val Nichushkin fitting into Colorado's top 6, and he's got 7 points and 33 shots on goal in his last 10 games. So I try to fit him in for $4,300 tonight too. And I'm going to hold my nose and say Cole Caulfield looks like the weight of the world has come off his shoulders in the last few games. The coaching change in Montreal really going straight to this guy's head and his feet. He's on a tear with 6 points in his last 3 games, and I think he has a chance to fatten up those stats against the Sabres club that's given up 15 goals in their most recent 3-game losing streak.
Jeffrey.
I mean, I'm going to target the same teams Paul did. I mean, I think the best value tonight is definitely with the Montreal Canadiens. You can stack their entire line. Every single guy is under 5K. I mean, Nick Suzuki's 4,900. Josh Anderson coming off, a big multi-goal game. He's 3,300. He's a shoot-first player. And Cole Caulfield, probably my favorite as well. Again, this guy was shooting at like a 5% pace or something at the start of the year. Yeah, Paul's right. No Tyler Toffoli. The pressure is off in Montreal. Let's not forget, this Montreal team, they went a long way in the playoffs last year. I don't think they're quite as bad as they've shown this year. They've just been dealt some really bad cards. Would not shock me to see them go on just a nice little run to end the year. But I also like Alex Killorn of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They got a massive implied goal total. Targeting their top 6 is never a bad thing. Killorn's almost a point per game player. He's only 4,200. Gets you exposure to the top line power play. The Oilers' goaltending is a mess. I mean, they're probably going to allow like 5 goals tonight. So Killorn, good value there too.
All right, real quick on this one. Favorite goal total on the DK Sportsbook, Jeff?
Over in the Colorado-Detroit game. I don't know why this is at 6. Like we already mentioned, Detroit's terrible defensively. Colorado might hit this on their own.
Paul, what do you think?
I agree with him there, and I also will go back to Dallas and Winnipeg. They combined for 7 goals last week. I think you see a repeat for that. Go to the alternate line of 6.5 and take the over for a 125 payoff.
All right, quick on this one too, so producer Drew doesn't hit me. Favorite puck or money line, Paul?
I like the puck line play for Buffalo minus 1.5 for a 215 payoff. It's too good to pass up. I know the Habs are on a win streak, but Buffalo's been scoring a lot lately too. I also like the way the Kings are rolling with their offense kicking into gear over the last 10 outings, resulting in a 6-2-2 record. Teams meeting for the second of a home and away set that began with a 5-3 LA win at home. I think they repeat that and collect on the plus 115 payoff, taking the Kings to win minus 1.5.
Jeff, bring us home.
Well, I'm going against Paul's. Hopefully I don't get kicked off the show. Montreal at home, minus 110. I like the value. Buffalo only has 8 wins and 25 road starts this year. Montreal's playing well. I like them on the money line.
All right, good stuff, guys. It is Wednesday, so of course we're joined by Len Hochberg. More PGA is next.
A tradition unlike any other here on The Sweat. Every Wednesday, our PGA guest wrapping up the show, RotoWire senior golf writer Len Hochberg. Let's go, dude. Let's get that preview here of this week's Honda Classic. Again, teeing off tomorrow. Let's get your best DFS plays. 5 dudes north of 10 grand in this one. The favorite, Sung JM, at $11,000. Last week's winner, Joaquin Niemann at 10-6. Brooks Koepka sneaking into that range as well. Hometown kid. Who's your favorite play this week of these top price guys?
Emerson, hello. Jesse, I didn't get the gorgeous golf guru intro like Reed and Jeff did, but it'll do. Thank you.
You are gorgeous. I want you to know that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, good to be with you. And yeah, this is a week where I think we have to look at some of these top guys because there aren't too many of them. And naturally, Sung JM is at the top of the list, and he's at the top of my list. Captain Obvious, I know, but he won here 2 years ago. He was 8th last year, and there's a reason for that. He plays boring golf, and I mean that with all due respect. He just tries to get from point A to point B in the most economical way, and that's a smart way to play this course. You know, we normally play DFS for really aggressive plays. Well, we've got to tone that down a little bit, and he is first or second on tour in bogey avoidance and bogey average, 7th in strokes gained tee to green. Really a good fit for this course, and the results bear that out. Daniel Berger also on my list. We don't know about his back, but he appears to be okay, and if so, I think he's a good option as well.
All right, last year's Honda winner Matt Jones is in that next tier at $9K. So who are you looking at in that like $8,500 to $10K range?
Yeah, there are a couple of guys there I like. Billy Horschel at 96. I think that's a very fair price for him. He also is a pretty conservative player for someone who doesn't always dress so conservatively, but yeah, he's another low bogey guy. He just tries to get up to the green and get in the hole and move on. And this is the modus operandi for this week. He's even he has 4 wins on Bermuda grass, and we're back on Bermuda this week. What I also like about Billy Horschel, he had some good results on the West Coast. Torrey Pines 11th, 6th I think in Phoenix, and didn't play Riviera, and he normally does his best work on the East Coast, so I like him. And also, I was a little surprised to uncover Johnny Vegas, not a guy I go to too often. I have to figure out how to spell Jonathan every time I pick him. He's 8,500. He's made 8 of 9 cuts at the Honda. That's not enough for 8,500, but he's had a few top 16s through the years. And also 26th on tour, strokes gained tee to green. That's a good number for this week.
All right, Len, a lot of value in this one without some of the top-ranked guys playing this week. We talked about some of our other analysts, a lot of parity now this week because of that. Who are some of your favorite golfers under $8 grand?
Yes, if I can invoke Jeff once again, I heard him earlier, and there are two guys that he mentioned that I like as well. Chris Kirk at 7,500, Lucas Glover at 7,400. Chris Kirk, top 25 here last year. More importantly for me, he really has his best strokes gained tee to green numbers of his career right now. That may not last for the whole season, but he's doing some really good things on the course right now. And Lucas Glover, incredibly straight, 11th driving accuracy, 4th greens in regulation. There is so much water here. We really have to keep the ball straight this week. And going up a bit, 7,900, Taylor Moore, one of the top Korn Ferry grads. His numbers really shake out very well. He already has 5 top 25s this season, including last week at Riviera.
All right, what's your strategy for building a DFS lineup this week? Like, are you maybe getting 2 or 3 guys in the 6,000, 7,000 range and then paying up a little bit for like that stars and scrubs build, or are you just finding the golfers who maybe have course experience here?
This is a challenging week, and it's not unique, but it's kind of rare because we try and go aggressive and get the guys who birdie. We all know that birdies are worth more than bogeys hurt, and birdies are even worth more than double bogeys hurt. But if your guy is not going to make the cut, that's a problem. So it really is a challenge. I really think the winner is going to come from one of the top guys. So we're going to have to dip into the 6s and hope for the best and get at least 1 or 2 of those guys in your lineup. I think the balanced lineup this week will do okay, but I don't think all these foot soldiers in the 7s and the 8s are going to get you a win unless one of them really goes off.
All right, is there a golfer under 7K you could see sneaking into the top 10 or maybe a top 10 finish here? Because you got some past major winners down in that neck of the woods.
Wow, an under 7 in the top 10, not even a top 25. Yeah, those guys, the former major winners, they're down there for a reason. I mean, they're all down there for a reason, but one guy in the 6s who could crack the top 10, maybe Kramer Hickok, now that he has done tabulating all the guys going to the Saudi Golf League, now that that's off his plate. He's had a couple of good results here. His best is 21st. That's still a long way to go to top 10. And he's had a couple of top 10s in the past year, including in Houston, where he was 4th, which was a very tough track as well as this one, and in a much stronger field. He is $6,800. I really don't see, I don't just see a lot of guys in the 6s who can get into the top 10. I imagine we might see one, and Kramer Hickok is my guy.
Okay.
Moment of truth, Len. Who is your 2022 Honda Classic winner?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to surprise anybody here with Sung Jae Im. I know his ownership is projected to be off the charts. I will tell people that if you really think a guy is going to win the tournament, don't double cross yourself. Don't avoid him because of high ownership. There are 143 other guys in the field. There are 5 other slots in your lineup. You can find plenty of differentiation and separation from your opponents that way. And I think, Sung Jae Im is really starting to be, at this course, the Honda PGA National, like a Webb Simpson at the Wyndham, where every year he may not win, but he's really in the mix there every year. It's just a perfect golfer for this course, and especially in this field. Really boring golf. Get in the hole, go to the next hole, go to the next tee, get your birdies here and there, avoid double bogeys.
Len, good talking to you. Good having you back in your studio instead of live there at the old LA Open. We're going to talk a lot more golf this afternoon at 5 o'clock Eastern Time over on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch pages. Yes, the slate with myself, Reed T. Fowler, and Jeff Ulrich. I'm very, very excited for that. And I hope you are less swollen as today moves forward.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And we'll be back together tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for The Sweat right here.